yes or no. Dr. Hayworth has 1 minute to give you that yes or no answer.
I'm giving you my honest answer. I'm a believer in the Constitution. These are issues that are highly contentious and must be dealt with within our states. It is not within the purview of the federal government to force on the states answers on issues that belong to the citizens and belong to the states. It is that simple, and that is my answer to you. I will not seek to force the state of New York to act against the wishes of the citizens of the state of New York as your federal legislator on issues of discretion for the states. It's that simple. It is a constitutional answer, and I respect, obey, promote, and preserve the Constitution.
Dr. Hayworth mentioned a citizen. A citizen asked a future representative to answer the question, and she avoided the second time. I will relinquish my next 45 seconds to get a yes or no correct answer. That's how it comes down. In debates, there are lightning rounds, and if you notice them, they say, give us a yes or no. So if for any other debate that Dr. Hayworth agrees with me between now and the primary, if we have a yes or no, she's going to say, because she can't say yes or no. Yes or no, Dr. Hayworth, on gay marriage. Yes or no. Yes or no.
That's sufficient. That is definitely sufficient for this area.
Okay.
We'll try to do better in selecting the questions. Okay. It's now been longer since Hawaii and Alaska have become states than it was between Arizona and New Mexico becoming states up until Hawaii and Alaska's turn. So it's been a while since we've had a new state, is the point. So H.R. 2499, which one of you may have to become familiar with in the near future, talks about self-determination for Puerto Rico. Bottom line is status quo, statehood, independence. I wouldn't want to take a test on that, but I know that's the issue. So where do you stand on that particular situation? And I guess I would frame the question in what do you believe should be put before the citizens of Puerto Rico, who obviously are also citizens of the United States? Let's make it as specific as I can. Thank you. And with all this back and forth, I don't know whose turn it is. Nan, why don't you start off? Okay.
Puerto Rico is, it's true, Puerto Rican citizens are citizens of the United States of America. I can think of reasons why it might be very good to have Puerto Rico as our 51st state. It does mess up the numbers a little bit. It becomes a prime number for the number of states. We have to change the flag. But it's seriously, it'd be costly for the taxpayers. I think from the perspective of the United States of America, I think what it comes down to is, realistically, would we be taking on new burdens that we cannot afford at this time if Puerto Rico becomes a state? If we determine that it's actually in the best economic interests of the United States as a whole to have a 51st state, then I think that's a very reasonable thing to consider, and as a nation to offer that option to our fellow citizens in Puerto Rico. But I think in the current climate, that's what it's going to come down to. Does it make sound sense fiscally for the United States of America? And of course, then the citizens of Puerto Rico would have to decide if it makes fiscal sense for them, for us to have a 51st state right now. If it makes no fiscal sense, then we are not doing the citizens of Puerto Rico a service, nor ourselves. And that would be the way in which I would make that determination. They have consistently rejected overtures to become a state.
continued to go after them to become the 51st state. They voted no. It's a complicated issue. Special interests want them. People of the country do not want it based on voting. They don't want it. You have to look behind the curtain and see where the special interests lie on why they want to become the 51st state. Look behind the curtain and find out why. When the voters say no, but continually it's being pushed on us. How many times do we have people say no and it's rejected? Case in point, Los Angeles, Proposition 8. It was soundly defeated. They lost. But a liberal judge rejected the will of the voters and said, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you voted on. It's out. That nice polling day, he voted against it. It went to the states. The voters said no. And a liberal judge said, sorry, I don't care about you. It's the voters. And it's the voters like you have to ask yourselves, do you want a representative that's going to answer your questions with a yes or a no, or this is a state issue, not a federal issue, this is a local issue, this isn't. It's simple. Answer questions. I want to know what politician I'm getting. If I call that person up and I say, hi, Mr. Ryan, from Washington, D.C., is it raining there? And the person on the line goes, let me take a poll on it. Answer the questions. If we're not going to get answers, then you aren't going to know where they are going to vote on certain issues. Obamacare. Obamacare. 1 minute left. Obamacare. Everyone said that in the past that pro-life issues don't count. Pro-life's not important. It's a bygone. It's from the 70s, 80s. No one cares about that. But if Bart Stupak had any spine and rallied his people who were pro-life Democrats, right now, we wouldn't have Obamacare. So on important issues like this, on gay marriage, or is it raining outside? If your politician on this stage or any stage locally does not give you a yes or no answer, do not elect them. If when I'm in Congress next year, and you call me up, and you ask me something, and I don't give you an answer that's a yes or no answer, then you know what you do? Draft someone else to make sure that I'm out of office in 2 years. And you know what? I'll sign your petition.
We touched on the opposite side of this coin earlier on, so I've amended this question. What would you like to see done, if anything, to encourage legal immigration into the United States? And I think we're going to go back to the syndrome of the previous speaker starts this round. What would you like to see done, if anything, to encourage legal immigration into the U.S.?
We have to fix the system. My parents came here legally. They had experience and jobs, and they understood what they were doing, and they knew when they got here that they had a position. My father was a barber. My mother was a homemaker, but she worked in a factory. She was very good with her hands, and they knew what was going on. We have to fix the system that is having people 10, 15 years or longer waiting in line. But my opponent wants them to stay. So if I am waiting online patiently for 10, 15 years, and then I look over to my opponent, and my opponent says, let him stay. Registration program, let him stay. And I worked in this country waiting to become a citizen by doing the right thing and following the law. But my opponent is willing to allow me to stay, knowing full well they committed a crime. I'm going to be one angry person. We have to system correctly, and after securing the borders, send the illegals back. And go up to the people who've been waiting online and saying, you know what? You've been waiting online for a very long time. And me as a congressman and next congress, I'm going to say, I apologize to you that illegals are in this country and my opponent wants them to stay, and you waited online, you did the right thing. Welcome to America. God bless you to be here. I'm honored that you're here because you did the right thing. And that's why we have laws. My opponent, by allowing illegals to stay here, is allowing them to commit crimes while they're here and get legal benefits that we're all paying for, and that is a national disgrace.
Should be encouraged in certain categories of labor that seem to be in need, quite honestly, in this country. One of them is we have a lot of farms in Orange County, and farmers here have told me, I've had the privilege of listening to them and visiting our farms in the Black Dirt region and around the district, and around Orange in particular. And what they tell me is that the H-1B, I hope I've got those numbers right, the H-1B system really is burdensome for them. It does not work well. We can make it work better so that they can have the seasonal labor that they need and that they can accommodate that labor requirement legally. And that just makes sense. So that's one way in which we can encourage legal immigration to meet our labor needs, for agriculture being one example. And I've been told in our technology companies actually that we could use more visas for talented doctorate holders and other highly skilled workers who can come to this country and help us grow certain types of business in ways that actually enhance the lives of all of us, including, of course, the people who live here and who are citizens. Immigration, illegal immigration, is an enormous problem. There is no question. The federal government must bear the burden of those costs. New York State and Orange County and District 19 should not bear the burden of those costs. We will not be able to fix that problem until we have secure borders. The Arizona law, SB 1070, illustrates the problem that we have. We need sufficient material, personnel, and technology to secure our borders. Unless until we have that, any other question regarding immigration cannot be realistically addressed. Any immigrants here, any illegal immigrants who have committed crimes should be deported summarily. We need to utilize technologies like E-Verify, require our businesses to use them and to use them consistently so that we can identify people who are here illegally and also people who have overstayed their visas, because that's another aspect of the problem. People who have overstayed their visas and can be readily identified can be gradually escorted out as well, but unless we have secure borders, we're not going to have a realistic way of keeping them from returning. So it is an enormous problem. The magnitude is such that we will not be able to have either a blanket amnesty, no question. I am not in favor at all of a blanket amnesty, nor can we have a mass deportation at one time. We are going to have to work on a way of, should it come to that, having a means of converting people into taxpayers, end of the line, penalization. If someone cannot handle those things, then they will have to leave swiftly. And we will make sure that that happens with a new will and leadership in the Congress. Thank you.